Today I'm starting my very first Project Pan.
Project Pan.
I'm officially jumping on the Project Pan bandwagon.
So you're all probably aware of the trend on the internet that is overconsumption, where you just buy, and then you buy more. And look, you're tired of it, I'm tired of it, we're just a couple of tired folks just being tired. Like, I went to the store the other day and I saw a million different versions of the same insulated cup thing. There were like 100 different colors, different handle types, different attachments, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming to see so many different versions of the same thing. Hello, I'd like to buy your finest insulated cup, please. Sure thing. What color would you like? Oh yeah, I'll take green. Great choice. Now what shade of green do you want? I'll take screaming green. Awesome. Now what attachments would you like? We have many options. Oh wow, that's a lot. I'll take the titanium handle and the bottle opener. Perfect. I also want you to know that we're running a special deal where if you get 2 attachments, you get a free security turret for free. But recently, a new trend has emerged, and it seems like it might be able to fight off overconsumption. This trend is called Project Pan. So the whole goal of this trend is to use products you already own instead of buying more. In this case, we're specifically talking about beauty products, because that's where most of this trend seems to be. And some people get really crazy with it. Like, they literally have products from like 5 or 6 years ago that they never used that now they're going to use. And principally speaking, there's actually a lot of wholesome and beneficial things that come from this trend, but there's also a dark side. Let's talk about how it started though. If you're like me and other people who made videos about this, then you would think that this is a new trend. Really, I thought it was just another TikTok trend that they spit out on our plate and we're gonna force us to eat. It's so yummy. But actually it turns out that it started way before that, way before TikTok, in the early days of YouTube, early 2010s. I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, haul videos were all the rage. There were makeup hauls, dollar store hauls, Lego set hauls. There's really hauls for everything you could ever think of, anything you could ever want, there was probably a haul for it. I actually remember when I was younger, I would watch video game hauls because I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I thought if you had a lot of video games, that was super cool. And now that I think about it, that was probably the early stages of overconsumptionism, and I was part of the problem. There were just so many videos about how many things you bought and why you need to buy more, and people just buying more, and then it made other people feel like they need to buy more too. So everybody was just buying more. It was like an infection that was spreading across the internet. I can't believe that 50% of the world is infected. I know, the walkers are everywhere. I just bought 100 books. I just bought every single Star Wars figurine in the world. I now have every umbrella that's ever existed. I stole all the money in the world. So overconsumption was everywhere, and then Project Pan came around. And actually, you can find articles about it from 10 plus years ago, like Project 10 Pan from 2011, Project Pan 10 Introduction from 2016, Project 2010 Pan in Zoom. Oh wait, that's actually a Microsoft computer forum. By the mid-2010s, this trend started to really take shape with sub-trends emerging from this trend. We got the Pan That Palette trend.
This video is going to be a Pan That Palette video.
Finish 5 by fall.
Finish 5 by fall project.
The no buy or low buy challenge. Which, side note, I really miss those old YouTube intros. There was a specific type of YouTube intro that everybody had, and honestly, it makes me a little bit nostalgic. Just a little bit. It brings me back to the days when I'd watch those old YouTube tutorial videos. What are you doing? My computer broke. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with it. You should watch a YouTube tutorial. That is a good idea. So Project Pan was doing well, the videos were great, overconsumptionism was kind of fading into the background, and we were returning to some kind of normal, at least for now. Fast forward a couple of years later, YouTube had matured, the creator economy was beginning to form, and there was this new wave of influencers all across YouTube. During this time, in the beauty industry specifically, people like Jaclyn Hill, James Charles, and Jeffree Star were starting to rise to prominence. And it was in this era that YouTubers began making products and collaborating with brands like we had never seen before. There were just so many YouTuber products, it was crazy. It seemed like every YouTuber either had a book, a video game, or some kind of random product. So before long, the modest and intentional trend that was Project Pan slowly began to fade out and consumerism was coming back. But then came 2020, the year that nothing happened. Nothing at all. Except COVID. So we all had to stay inside. Everything was crazy. I was making cringy YouTube videos, which I still probably am, but I think they were a little more cringy back then. But during this time, there was a mass sense of economic uncertainty. People were really beginning to reconsider what they were spending money on. And this is when we saw a huge swing from consumerism back to a more modest and intentional Project Pan. But this time, its growth was a little bit more strong, and honestly, it was probably a little bit more emotionally impactful. People started making videos on clean beauty, sustainability, and overall, there was just this whole sense of anti-overconsumptionism rising. And it was at that point that Project Pan began to return, and fast forward 5 years later, and it is probably more prevalent than ever. Welcome to the current state of Project Pan. Here's what you can expect from this adventure. 7 months into Project Pan, and I'm struggling. But that's the point. Project Pan final boss. Huge Project Pan finale. I finished 6 products in 1 month. However, just because Project Pan is in direct opposition to overconsumption, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. Could it have swung too far in the other direction? Well, let's take a look. So the thing that surprised me most about modern day Project Pan is how emotionally invested people would get in it. Like, people are getting so crazy invested into. I'm talking about having farewell tributes to makeup, there's countdowns to the final use of their lipstick, there's all kinds of things. It kind of makes me feel like I'm watching a Disney short film. But even with all that, on a deeper level, I kind of get it. But it does seem like beneath all the layers of lipstick and makeup, there's something deeper going on. It kind of seems like Project Pan isn't just about finishing makeup, but it's about having a sense of control, rebellion, and even self-care. Let's start with control. I think this idea of control comes specifically from the COVID days due to the financial uncertainty that a lot of people face. So during this time, instead of buying a lot of new products, people began to reuse what they already had. And I think the simple act of doing this gave a lot of people the sense of control over their finances.
One of my favorite sayings about money is I'm too broke to buy cheap. But one thing I also realized I'm too broke to buy is anything that's expensive that I don't use. And for those of us who are makeup lovers out there, I'm betting that one of the most expensive categories that you're probably not using enough is your makeup, which is why I've committed to doing a Project Pan for the year of 2025, and so far, so good.
But I will admit, in some cases, it got a little strange to me. While researching this, I saw a lot of videos about people using expired makeup from years ago. And I'm really not an expert at all, but that seems like it might not be the best idea.
I want to talk about some expired makeup palettes that I have that I want to either hit pan or finish up this year as part of my overarching Project Pan.
So this is where my ignorance comes in. Is this normal? Is this like a normal thing that people do? I really have no idea. Let me know in the comments because I genuinely don't know. Is it normal to use expired makeup? Another thing I noticed is a kind of sense of rebellion that lingered in the air with these videos. Like I said earlier, there were all these hyper-consumeristic collab brand videos that were being pushed on YouTube, and this was almost a direct response to that. People were getting tired of the constant push for more, especially from mega influencers. Here's an article from greenmatters.com that I think actually puts it in a really good way. If your For You page has become overwhelmed with a steady stream of new cosmetic releases, you might feel the urge to run out and join in on the excitement. However, for consumers whose shelves are littered with unused products or trendy items that just aren't working, buyer's remorse seems inevitable. So a lot of people were getting caught up in the excitement of buying and ended up regretting it. Project Pan positioned itself as a counter to this, promoting a more mindful and minimalistic lifestyle. As you can see, there's so many products, and it kind of feels like the thing that I would have nightmares about. I can't escape. There's nowhere to go.
You're right. There's nowhere to run.
Why do you do this?
Look at all this body wash.
Oh no.
You're gonna smell like everything at the same time.
No. Which leads me to the third thing I noticed. It's a form of self-care. Similar to what I said a moment ago, I noticed a lot of people enjoyed it because of the sense of productivity or just the general feeling of goodness that it gave them. You get the satisfaction of routine while also getting the peace of decluttering at the same time. So while a lot of trends on TikTok are focused more on the visual and excessive side of things, this trend seems to be more focused on the minimalistic and beneficial parts of things, if that even makes sense. It seems like it focuses more on the self-improvement aspect of it, and honestly, I think self-improvement is usually always pretty much a good thing. So that's good. People are feeling productive, they're feeling satisfied, they're getting that sense of accomplishment. So everything seems like it's going great. But just like many things, there's a bad side to Project Pan, the dark side of Project Pan. So Project Pan started as a way to fight off overconsumption. It was supposed to be this kind of mindful, productive, and minimalistic way of living. There was supposed to be a certain kind of peace that came along with it. But unfortunately, it was only a matter of time before it became a corrupted version of itself. Obsession. For a while, everything was great. But then for some, it became less about the intentionality of Project Pan and more about this obsessive compulsiveness to finish products. There were so many instances of people saying they hated products that they even loathed them, but they felt like they had to finish them. Throwing things away was not an option.
Hate, hate, hate. Double hate. Loathing.
It reminds me of this thing called clean plate syndrome, where you get this feeling of uneasiness or anxiety if you don't finish all the food on your plate. That's what this was turning into. And it was turning into this because of guilt. For some, it seemed like this was the main motivation of why they were participating in Project Pan. There were many videos of people forcing themselves to use products that were moldy, expired, or just overall gross because they felt like they had to, because they felt guilty. Many people felt like they didn't deserve new products until they finished the ones they already had. And this leads me to where I believe a lot of these issues stem from: overcorrection. So while I think overconsumption can be an issue because it can lead to that feeling of never being satisfied, I think there's probably a similar type of effect on the opposite end. And in an attempt to fight overconsumption, some people went way too far in the other direction. Other people got caught up in the overconsumption trend, bought a lot of things, felt bad, and then felt like they had to overcorrect from that. And then these people just end up punishing themselves because they feel like they have to finish all these gross, disgusting products. So instead of trying to fix the root issue, which in this case specifically might be impulse buying, they use the good old tried and true PEMDAS method and try to cancel out the overconsumption with a crazy amount of underconsumption. And apparently this method doesn't seem like it works too well. But hold on, does the bad outweigh the good? Overall, is Project Pan good? So through my research, I saw many good things and many not good things. There are so many different levels to this, and honestly, it'd probably take me hours to go through every level of this, every inch and every corner of Project Pan, but at the end of the day, I feel like there's a lot of good that comes from this. I think there's a great benefit in being happy with what you have while being mindful of your consumption habits. I also really like the idea of small wins that I feel like this trend promotes. I love that people are satisfied with finishing products that they already own. Like some people would just drink a bottle of water and finish a tube of lipstick, and then they would feel like a billion times better, and I think that's awesome. But what are your thoughts? Does this make sense? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I should add something? Let me know in the comments below. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.